Hey, I'm supposed to wait 5 seconds. What is up, my fellow market participants? Hope you guys are all doing good out there tonight. I hope you're staying safe out there. I hope you guys are all green for the week. I'm wishing you all a very green Christmas. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about what happened in the market today, what's been happening, and kind of get an idea of maybe what could happen tomorrow. As we know, beginning of December, a lot of selling coming off. And then in the last 2 days, we've had this rocket ride just straight up to going to the moon, apparently. Really, it's as of right now, all of our negative catalysts are sort of pulled off the table. Everything is green right now. What I saw, the bonds were green and the indexes were green all at the same time today. So the market doesn't know what it's doing. What it does know is it's got a lot of money and it needs to make some. So, and it wants to put that money to work or at least protect it somewhere. So as of right now, it doesn't really matter what we say or think or do or what the news is. Aside from like a straight up shutdown due to the new COVID variant, it looks like we are headed in the upward direction. There's a few things too that I want to say before we jump into the chart really quick. First one, be aware, I trade mostly on the Russell 2K. And the reason I do that is because the Russell 2K leads it's the small cap stocks. It's the stocks that have low floats or low numbers of shares. Okay. So I trade that. And the reason I trade that is because it's usually the front runner and it's the one that you'll see react most to the bond. So we get away from having all of the different things that can actually affect it. We can kind of keep an eye on something like TLT, which is the U.S. Treasury bond, or we can look at something, we don't have to, and we can just look at those two charts and sort of compare them. And usually they move opposite from each other. TLT typically goes down. The Russell 2K goes up. The ETF that I trade that tracks the Russell 2K is IWM. Again, this is pretty simplistic, not a lot of complications here, and it leads typically everything else. However, if you're trading a bigger ETF like SPY or QQQ, any number of things can affect those guys. So, if I'm trading SPY, I have to have an eye on Apple. I got to have an eye on Tesla. I got to see what financial sectors are doing. The SPY trades the S&P 500. It's kind of all over the place. So, and QQQ is mostly the NASDAQ. And pretty much as long as the FANGs, Netflix, or the FANGs, Microsoft, and Tesla are up. But if any one of those has a bad day, they weigh down that index. So it's a little easier to just kind of go over and look at TLT and trade TLT alone, or trade IWM, which is on the Russell 2K. It's a lot easier to do that than it is to do to run around and have to keep an eye on like 10 different charts to see if they're affecting the ETF that I'm in. So that's that. Second of all, talk about the idea of a Christmas crash. I don't foresee it. And one of the things you have to realize is today we got some economic data. We got the home sales for November. We got forecasts for GDP, and they're still up. And this is something that I really wanted to say, and I forgot I was going to say, so I'm sort of winging it here with this. America has a strong economy. Okay. When I play the market, I buy a lot of puts. I go short biased, but that's because you can trade the technicals of a short position a lot better than you can trade the technicals of a long position. Okay. So you have to understand is all of these ETFs, all of these stocks, they're trading at a multiple. Okay. They're trading at price to earnings ratio that's astronomical right now. Okay. Like for every $40, for every $1 Tesla earns right now, you're paying $40 for that $1 of their earnings. Okay. It's actually higher than that, but that's just kind of an estimate. So with these high evaluations, with you having to invest a lot of money in order to just get $1 of that revenue, it makes it very hard to go long biased, and it makes it very hard to gauge whether or not people will be willing to drive those multiples higher, that PE ratio higher. And so when I'm short biased, I don't really think that America's stock market is going to crash. I'm just taking advantage of some technical moves within the market. And I wouldn't be, I'm never short longer than 30 minutes. That's the most I ever do. I don't, and this is the first time. I spent the last year basically being all long bias traders, all stocks, no options, nothing. Now I'm basically really focused on options. I think it's the way to go as of right now. And if you have a small account, it's great because you can capitalize on some more momentum plays and some bigger stocks and some bigger companies and some big ETFs with minimal capital requirements. So with all of that being said, I don't think that the U.S. economy is going to crash due to anything that we can foresee, okay? You are going to have a lot of guys out there, and I'm not even going to tell you their names because they're just trash, okay? I will tell you there's one guy who does predict sort of some market sell-offs and some bad things to happen in the market. You can check out Steve Van Meter's channel. Very good guy, but really smart as far as what he's doing. But the idea that this market is just going to crash out of nowhere, crash because of something, right? If we can see, right, if these guys can build you an argument, right, for the market crashing, if they can do that, okay, that means somebody in the market has also seen it. They're not that smart, okay, and or if they are that smart, there are other people who are as smart as them, and they've already seen the problem, and because they've already seen the problem, they know exactly how to either stop the problem or exploit the problem to a more positive direction, okay? So with all of these guys calling for these market crashes, it's going to be the worst since the rolling blah, 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 blah. It's going to be horrible. Everybody get your skewers out because we're only going to be able to get squirrels, and they're going to have to eat squirrels and roast them over a fire in the woods with our militia. That's not a reality, okay? The truth of the matter is something I like to tell people is humans be doing shit, okay? No matter what happens. So here's the deal. Unless you kill everybody in America, the economy's not going to collapse. You have people, they have to find work. You have people that have work that needs to be done. People need food. People need a roof over their head. People, as long as there's people in this country, the economy will survive, okay? Now, that being said, the stock market is not the economy. I want to make that very clear. And when it does crash, it's usually for something nobody has ever seen before. In 2020, when the market crashed, it was because nobody saw this whole thing coming. And a few of these ETFs had a whole bunch of contracts on oil, okay? Whole bunch of companies had contracts on oil, and they were only buying those contracts 1 month out. So when the market crashed, they're sitting on top of a bunch of oil that they can't move and contracts that they can't move. So they had to dump them. And they didn't even really dump them, right? What they did is they took that oil and they paid somebody to store it until the market started coming back, okay? It was down for like a couple of days, couple of weeks maybe at most, and then we ripped right back up there, right? Probably the greatest bull run in the history of the stock market, the history of the world. You just saw in the last 18 months was the greatest bull run of all time, right? So, and what did those ETFs learn their lesson? The ones that were holding those contracts, they're not they're not buying 1 month out. Now they're buying 3, 6 months out, 12 months out, right? They're really trading on the futures. And they were some young ETFs. They were still getting their feet wet and learning. And even then, it actually, for the short time that it was down, it made a lot of people a lot of money. And I haven't heard anybody talking about how they lost money in that market crash. I've not heard anybody. Now, if you're somebody who has, I'd be interested to hear from you and hear your story and find out why you sold the bottom. That's what I would like to know. As far as going into tomorrow, right now I'm full on expecting the bull run to continue. However, I have a caveat to that. Tomorrow, here's the deal. We're going into a 3-day weekend. It's a holiday weekend and nobody knows what's going to happen over the 3 days. It is possible that after the 2.5 sessions of just rampant running up into the end of tomorrow with the market closed over the weekend, there will be some selling, there will be some profit taking, there will be some pullbacks. Okay. Now, again, we will be watching for these. We'll be waiting for these, the shift in momentum, and our technical analysis is what's really going to tell us that. So I'm going to try and wrap this up really quick. So we'll go into a little bit of technical analysis, look at what's going on, and then close out the video. All right, guys. So let's go over to the chart. Let me make sure we are on. Okay, so we are on IWM. Let me do this a favor. I got to clean this up. I keep forgetting to do this. You guys don't need the 9 and the 15. Okay, so you can see again, we still have our lines drawn where they are. Okay, I did remove our top end. I'll better put this back. Okay, so this line right here, we got this arrow to the downside. Okay, you can see we're up through there. I'm gonna go ahead and make that nice and thick for you guys. All right. So you can see from our arrow, we came up, we have broken through this and we've broken above the 200. Okay. Now, again, this doesn't mean we're going to get a full on reversal or anything of that nature. But it does look pretty good as far as being bullish. What we will look for here also is we'll look to this new bottom trend right here. These 3 candles from this bottom up through here. And we're going to look for this to sort of continue on from that as we open into tomorrow. We're looking for an open above the 200. Okay. That is something that we are going to be looking for. If we don't, if this rejects and comes back down, we could head down to this, back down into this 208, 209 area. And that's pretty possible. If there is some profit taking, we will see. We're going to go over to the 1 minute right now and take a look over here. Again, you can see though, it's nothing. We'll slide it back to the 5 minutes so that we can see the full chart. So you can see, day and a half ago, 2.5 days ago, where the bull run started, came up right into here. You can see that's where it broke through that trend. It's holding above that trend, and it's continuing its move higher. You can see it's following the arrow that we drew all the way up. Okay. So there's something else I want to make clear really quick. So this arrow is down here, right? It's at this level. Down here around the 219 level, and our price right now, is up above 220. Okay, so you're $1 off of this trend line. Okay, off of the bottom of this trend line. So you can see some pulling back into this trend, right? But you're pretty extended off of it, so it is going to have to come back into this a little bit. I'm going to tighten it up on the 5 so it sees a little better. But the one thing that's really nice right here is we have this like little wedge happening. So you can see how we made like a little triangle right there off of our thing. So there's a good chance that it could break to higher highs, continuing on this trend upward. It's really going to depend a lot of what happens when it gets around here. We do need to come back into this trend a little bit and get some consolidation. This is a lot of up. Really a lot of up over the last couple of days. We'll probably even just tighten this up a little bit better. So we've come up almost $10. If you got 100 shares of this, you're up grand at this point. So, there's probably going to be some profit taking. The other thing is things are going to get wonky tomorrow as the market makers are going to sell a lot of their shares for, let me look at the options chain really quick for tomorrow. We need to go look at some of let's go with 20. Okay. Yeah. So they're going to be dumping a bunch of their open interest here on a lot of these. You've got hundreds of thousands of shares here bought for tomorrow. Your market maker is probably going to want to dump a bunch of those going into late tomorrow because they don't need to hold the gamma. So there's a pretty good chance there'll be some nice pullbacks to play off of tomorrow. But don't count on that till 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, somewhere along those lines. That's where you guys will see. But for the most part, if it does keep going up, it won't happen too bad. And if we do keep the buying going on, it's a good chance though tomorrow will be a good risk off move. But overall, not a lot of reason to see it come back down. The bulls clearly don't care about COVID. They clearly don't care about inflation. They clearly don't care about the Fed. They're not scared. 2.5 days of running means they obviously don't give a crap. So, the only thing I could think is they might want to pull their money out of the market and not sit on it over the weekend, or they may want to pull it out of the market and not pay the fees on margin or anything like that. At the same time, that also could be just a bunch of this whole move very well likely might be like retirement funds buying it because they just buy and they don't care where they buy. I would say it's probably not likely given how it's basically traded, how they've managed to really manipulate the price, basically bouncing it off of all of these major averages. Every time it comes down to touch them, it just rips up above them. So I would say that there's a possibility this is some pretty good traders who are running this. They really have a plan and what they want to do and where they want it to go. The big money that is playing this. Keep in mind that we're, those guys, we're all ships in the ocean, but those guys are in oil tankers and we are on little jet skis. Okay. We're just riding their wake. So, I think that's it for the chart today. Again, predictions for tomorrow. Watch for the sell-off just for the profit taking. For the most part, there's no reason to not be long biased going into the beginning of the year. There's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines going into the beginning of next year that is probably going to want to come in. And there's been a lot of selling. There's been a massive amount of tax loss harvesting. So at the beginning of the year, when we do rebalancing, these guys might just be trying to get ahead of rebalancing. That very well might likely be it. There's a good chance there's going to be a lot of buying in the first month. So I'm expecting a pretty green January. So, all right. With that, guys, being said, a couple of things. One, the market is closed on Friday. Friday, the market is closed in observance of Christmas. This will be the last show for this week. We will be back on Sunday to go over things again, or to go over predictions for the next week and kind of the trading plan for next week. And then lastly, if I talk technically here, this is not a video for teaching. If you want to learn, try and reach out to me on Facebook. You can email me at therusseljournal@gmail.com. I am happy to answer questions and talk to people about trading. I probably should be said, none of this is financial advice, obviously. I don't know what can be misconstrued here. This is just technical analysis, basically. you need to research your stuff. However, if you are interested in trading, get yourself, there is a link somewhere in the description or comments or somewhere. There is a link for Webull. If you sign up with them, you can get 5 free stocks right now. Is the current promotion. You get 5 free shares, which is great. Kind of gives you a nice little introduction. You can get Google or Tesla. I think my girlfriend got Tesla one time. Well, she got like partial share of Tesla, but still it's Tesla, yeah, there you can get all the, but mostly they're cheap stocks that will pretty much kind of give you a feel for how the market works. You'll get to finally see it. The stock market's a bit like the Matrix. You kind of have to see it to understand it. So with that being said, you guys have a good night. Stay safe out there, and respect your risk.